All right, we're recording. Perhaps it's you. Yep. I just went ahead and did it.
Are we their favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast?
I mean, probably.
It's unofficial though.
We better be.
How many? Okay, when was the last time you did a count of how many Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcasts are out? There's got to be like so many more now, right?
I feel like a bunch of people quit though.
Oh, you're right. It just
cancels
out.
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked in years.
For a while, it was like there was a new one popping up every week.
I think the grind. Where's people? They go, wow, there's a lot of these episodes. I don't know what we were thinking, and then I don't. Yeah. But maybe
we think that every day, but then somehow we still keep doing it. I don't know what's wrong with us.
We just love our 5 listeners.
Oh,
that's our problem.
That's why.
Imagine if we started this, but we weren't sure anybody was really. We would just be like, okay, never mind.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
That's embarrassing. We'd be like, that's embarrassing. Let's never admit we did that. Podcast? I don't know what that is.
What's a podcast?
A pod? I don't. What?
Cast it? Doesn't even make any sense.
This is like fishing? I don't. What? But yes, we are. Perhaps it's you. Your favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast, dedicated to BD Wong, of course.
Yep.
I only welcome friends to this episode. Enemies, whatever. Hi, I guess, but
you're not welcome.
Yeah, friends, gather around. Thank you for all your support. We appreciate your downloads, your messages, your whatever.
Yes.
I was actually going to start off by reading email.
Oh, great.
This is from Indrid, who refers to herself
Indrid
as...
Cold. Just kidding. I know. I know who this is. This person has been listening for a while.
God. Okay. Listener number 4, apparently.
Yeah.
Says Mothman is real, no question.
Oh, yeah.
But as a West Virginian, I gotta tell you, people out in the mountains are extremely bored and will make up just about anything. My uncle used to tell me about how if you parked your car in the specific spot, the ghost of Civil War soldiers would drag your car to the top of the hill, thinking it was a cannon. If you go to this place with a level, it's actually just an optical illusion, and the hill actually slopes gently uphill. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he knew that, but liked spooking us.
Well, it's a very uncle thing to do.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I would do that myself. It should be noted that we love a good prank in West Virginia. If my cousins heard there was a tale of a red-eyed monster in the mountains, we'd be out there with red flashlights every night scaring people. All that said, just because West Virginians are celebrated confabulators, oh, what a word, and pranksters doesn't mean Mothman isn't real. I mean, yeah, good point.
That's fair.
Good point. I guess I hadn't really thought a lot about pranks.
Interesting. What's funny about that is same. And I think it's because Minnesotans hate a prank. It's like the opposite. Like you don't, no, that's like it couldn't be any like farther from a Minnesotan's mind. Is maybe I'll play a prank.
Maybe I'll scare people half to death and like change their whole lives because they think they saw Mothman. Yeah. No, that's not. I mean, this going into the woods with red flashlights and pretending there's a creature from another dimension here to warn you about failing infrastructure is not very neighborly, and therefore is not very much in the Minnesota mindset where I really think people would be like, but why?
Why would you do that?
I feel like this state has a very almost like Girl Scout ethos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I can't really explain why it does, but it does.
So that just wouldn't really happen. I don't know. I definitely think people saw something in West Virginia. I guess for the story to start, I understand if they were copycat pranks, but then what started it, though?
Mm-hmm. Well, that bridge.
Well, yeah, okay. And the bridge really did collapse. Can't deny that. Of course, did that have anything to do with the interdimensional being? I mean, I say yes, but I understand that may be hard to swallow.
No, it makes perfect sense. Also, Bigfoot is an interdimensional being that can shapeshift into a moth.
Yeah, we've learned so much doing this podcast. It's been a really educational experience.
All those Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcasts that quit after 3 episodes are really missing out.
They'll never know. They'll
What
never
we know.
Yeah.
They'll never see what we've seen.
Oh god. No wonder they quit. Smart. Good move. Did you have any other updates?
I was curious where we're at with that protection spell. I noticed that someone in our Facebook group offered to a real witch offered to cast a protection spell.
Okay, so listener Amelia is a witch and offered to cast the protection spell for us. She was getting advice from other witches about the best way for people to be able to interact with it. That maybe we would all light a candle at the same time, or something like that. So stay tuned for the genderqueer protection spell offered by Perhaps It's You. That is forthcoming.
Oh, great.
So
thank you, Amelia, and your witch associates.
Yes, that is on the horizon of things happening with this podcast. Amazing, completely amazing. Love it so much. Yeah, the witch district has like never been less witchy. God
damn,
so many of those places have closed, and
the small witch corner store didn't survive COVID.
It did, but it's smaller.
Okay, well,
it had like expanded just before COVID. Guess what? Not great timing. So yeah, it's littler now. It's not going to have classes anymore. Kind of a bummer.
Dang.
I know. Hang in there, witches. Hang in there. It's been a hard time for us all.
It has.
God, I don't know. Any other updates?
Not for me.
Yeah, no, nothing.
My update is I'm going to drink my iced coffee. Try and stay away.
Yeah, how are you liking your cold brew thing?
Love it. Someone in our Facebook group agreed with me. They also have the cold brew pitcher. They seconded my recommendation, and also they recommended like a milk frother. Great idea. I'm not really a milk person. I drink black coffee, but I mean, if you're gonna drink milk, it might as well be frothy milk, I guess.
Bring it to that next level of the home coffee experience.
Indulge is what I'm saying. You need to indulge yourself every day. And right now for me, it's iced coffee because I need the caffeine, and it's hot.
I have been obsessed with this comment I saw on Twitter years ago, and I have yet to do this, but people were talking about the most luxurious things that they do for themselves. And someone said that they keep frozen scone dough in the freezer and then every morning bake themselves one fresh scone.
I would never do this, but that sounds amazing.
I mean, that's where I'm at also, where I always think of it like, wow, that's such a good idea. And then I go
fresh scone.
And then
do they make the scone dough from scratch, or do they buy it?
Yeah.
Wow. I hope that person is doing well. They really got it figured out. I'm not going to ever do that.
No, same, but it's such a good idea. So I'll pass that along in case someone has more energy than
you could really. I mean, it doesn't have to be a scone though. You could do you could make yourself one cookie every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really 2. 1 cookie's not enough.
3. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Which honestly, you could get the frozen Sweet Martha's cookie dough and just put a couple of them in the oven every day, and just have yourself a gooey Sweet Martha's, or 3 or 4 every day.
Yeah, you could probably put that in your toaster oven.
Yeah,
not to heat up the whole oven.
Amazing, right? Such a good idea. Just have your cookie oven. This is my dedicated cookie oven.
Yes, I love that.
I have been eating hot fudge sundaes every day. I was at the grocery store and I was like, why don't I ever get this hot fudge sundae chocolate?
You're like, I'm an adult. I can eat this whenever I want.
Yeah. And I did. And it's been great. Really, I'm into cold treats right now because it's hot. But
yeah. I have been eating a ton of these Korean pudding popsicles that are like flan flavored.
Oh, did I have one of those at your house once?
Probably.
I remember it being very tasty.
So good. Really hits the spot. Everybody's like, what? Okay, thanks.
This is we're Liz and Samantha just talk about the treats we want to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just an extension of snack time. We don't have any snacks to actually eat. We'll just.
Well, Mac bought these Hershey's Kisses that are like strawberry ice cream, but they're just sitting in the kitchen tempting me. But you're not here, so too bad for snack time. Okay, we can just get started. We're on season 7, episode 11, and I feel like I watched this a few days ago and now don't remember anything, which is how podcasting works. But I have a missing persons to start us off with, and this case is wild.
Oh, right. I was trying to remember what our first mystery was because I also watched this a couple days ago. And you're right. This first mystery is crazy.
Wild. This should be like a movie. Where's my Netflix doc just about this case? Because there's a lot.
Speaking of Netflix, where's our new episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, Netflix? Wasn't that supposed to happen?
Is that happening this month?
Maybe. I thought it was going to be this summer.
I thought it was July, but
well, I mean, it's still July, so I guess it could still happen, but usually we hear about it.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to look this up. This seems like something
killer Netflix.
This seems like something we should know. Unsolved Mysteries, Netflix. When is this coming?
My Google just says summer 2022.
Well, that is right now, you bitches.
But this is old. I'm not finding anything like recent because this was from September 2021 saying summer 2022.
Okay, this is from May, and it said that new episodes would be debuting this year. Okay, I guess there's just not a date yet.
How dare they?
I know, it's super rude. Okay, anyway, back to this missing person case. This is in 1994 in San Marino, California. It opens with workers digging in a backyard to install an in-down pool where they make a grim discovery. A human skeleton is found inside 3 plastic bags and 1 fiberglass box.
If I ever dig a pool, which I'm never going to do, but if I ever do, I'm just assuming I'm going to find a skeleton, right?
I don't think that's very common. We don't live in
like it is, but maybe that's just because of the media we consume.
I was going to say we don't live in England.
Okay, fair.
But okay, the total side note, I watched Last Night in Soho over the weekend, which was like good, not great, whatever. But there's a part where this woman asks the landlady if someone's ever died in her room because all this freaky stuff is happening. And the woman's like, yeah, it's London. Someone has died in every room. Ever. Like someone, like basically, like someone's died there, someone's died there. I just thought that was so funny. That's amazing. I don't know what that says about my sense of humor, but I was like, oh, I'm listening. Like, yes. Okay, anyway, I would love a pool. Does that make any sense in Minnesota? No, but I would love one. Okay. So anyway, we have Detective Ronnie's mustache. Do I remember what this looked like? No, but I named it That's Enough, Ronnie. So I'm guessing it was a lot of mustache and I didn't like it.
I don't know what it is about the name Detective Ronnie that I'm just not a fan of. And that's not fair to this man. But if someone introduces themselves to me as Detective Ronnie, I am turning around and not for me.
Ronnie definitely has some Jersey Shore connotations to me.
Maybe that's why.
I was like, I'm not sure I trust Detective Ronnie.
Okay, but now I have a really funny picture of this person in my head, which is just a mashup of like a 90s guy with a 90s mustache and a Jersey Shore bro.
The biggest meathead on Jersey Shore. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So don't remember what that mustache looks like, but I was not a fan. It turns out that in 1985, 2 people lived in this house that had been reported missing, John and Linda Sohouse. They were a married couple in their late 20s. Was one the victim of foul play? Robert Stack, they found a fucking skeleton in 3 bags in a box. Like, yes. Yes, no one dies of natural causes, and then that's how they end up.
Okay, does Detective Ronnie at some point though say something along the lines of, "Well, we can't prove what happened here, but the fact that the head was in a bag gives us an idea." Yeah, no shit, don't Ronnie.
Yes, That absolutely happens. Where I think maybe this is in my notes somewhere else, but from the skeleton, the cause of death was not clear. It's not like there was a bullet wound in the skull or something. So he was just like,
fine, but his head was in a bag.
We don't know how he died, but we're leaning towards foul play. It's like, no shit. Thank you. I think I could be a homicide detective, everyone. Okay. At the time of their disappearance, they had been married for 2 years and still lived with John's mother, Dee Dee, who apparently had a substantial drinking problem. Another character in their lives was Christopher Chinchester, or Chichester, something like that. It's a fake.
It was Chai. Robert Stack pronounced it Chichester, which I just is not a name. I don't know. I prefer your pronunciation of Chinchester.
Chinchester. I added an N, which I didn't even write down. Before anyone gets mad at me for mispronouncing this guy's name, it's a fake name, okay? And he probably did.
It's not a real name.
He probably did just make it up. So, what was it? Chichester? You're right. Chichester. So he lived on the guest house on this property, which, damn, what a life. Okay.
Don't let someone live in your guest house. That is what I've learned from true crime.
Yeah. Very the movie The Crush. No, thank you. No. Okay. So John and Linda were looking forward to no longer living with John's mother, which I think was kind of a damper on their lives. John was a computer programmer and Linda was an artist. Right before their disappearance, Linda told friends that John had gotten a new job with the government and they were both needed in New York, and that she was not allowed to give specifics. So incredibly weird. They were supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, but literally never returned. Linda had boarded her 6 cats.
So many cats.
So many cats.
It's so expensive to board 6 cats.
I know. That's exactly what I thought too. I was like, damn, that is a penny. Because she paid for them 2 weeks in advance up front. She dropped off her 6 cats and was like, okay, I got to go to New York for this thing. I'll be back. However, after 8 weeks, she had yet to return. And the owner knew something was seriously wrong. I feel like most people would not wait 8 weeks after only being paid for 2 weeks. But
no, this owner. Also, I think based on the end, I think they continued to keep these cats for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure they love cats, and they were like, maybe you could get one a home, but what are you gonna do with fucking 6 of them?
I guess I don't know.
She probably didn't want them to get put down. Yeah, anyway.
That's fair.
So after 8 weeks of having these cats and no one coming back, she tracked down Linda's sister, Kathy. We hear from Kathy, and she says that if Linda had not planned on returning, she would have taken her pets, and she can't imagine her leaving her 6 cats behind. Like, obviously, if someone loves animals enough to have 6 cats, they're not just going to abandon them and then go start a new life without finding homes for them or, whatever. Like, this is not how she would behave. I don't know that Linda and Kathy are super close, because Kathy didn't know that Linda hadn't come back until the kennel owner called her trying to track her down. And she was like, oh, she's not back from her trip yet. And that's when the first missing person report is filed, because her sister hasn't heard from her and did think that she was only going to be gone 2 weeks. So she calls John's mom, Dee Dee, to find out what the hell's going on. And Dee Dee said that she wasn't supposed to talk about it because it was a secret mission.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. Linda, you said Linda told people that they got a job with the government and were going on some sort of work trip?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't remember this. I thought Dee Dee was the first one to bring up this mission thing, but I didn't realize that Linda had said something about it.
It's an interesting twist, particularly, or I guess maybe that's not a twist. So it's an interesting part of the puzzle as we get further out, because that means that at some point, Linda and John believed that. Linda told her friends.
At least Linda did.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So Dee Dee's like, I can't tell you what's going on. They're on a secret mission. And Kathy is very frustrated because that doesn't make any sense. And also, the story seemed to vary day by day, depending on how much Dee Dee had been drinking. Also, she's an elderly woman. She's living with her son. I think she needed care. I don't know that she's entirely with it. After Kathy has filed this missing police report, missing persons report, the police didn't have much luck getting info from Dee Dee either. We see a reenactment where the cops go to talk to Dee Dee, and she tells them that she has a source, so she knows that they're fine, but she's not allowed to say anything about it because it's a secret. Guess what the cops did with this information? Nothing! They just went, yeah, okay.
Mission, Liz.
They
have no proof that they're missing, despite the fact that there's a missing persons report.
Except that their family hasn't heard from them for 8 weeks. They were supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. They've been missing for more than a month at this point. And the police, I guess, just write down in their report, on secret mission. Thank you. What would we do without them? Okay. 3 months. Okay, literally nothing is done. No investigation happens. They do not check, I don't know, flight manifest to New York. They do not try to find out where they were staying. They don't.
They just shrug.
Jack shit. It's so frustrating. Okay, 3 months later, Linda's friend Sue, who is at least one of the people that Linda said that she was going on this trip, received a postcard from France, which read, "Kinda missed New York. Oops. But this will do."
It's so weird. Also, I don't know what they said. I was wondering as I was watching this, like, that was her handwriting, or at least her friend must have thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't comment on that, and I was wondering that as well. That either this is like, guessing from the rest of the story that this is just a passable imitation, or that her friend was really not that familiar with her handwriting.
Yeah, maybe.
Because she does think that this is fucking weird, but she doesn't say.
I would think if it was absolutely not her handwriting, you would say that.
Yeah, exactly. Another postcard was sent to Linda's mother that was kind of similar. Her family was like, if she was planning a trip to Europe, she would have been very excited about that and would have told us.
This was a secret mission, Liz.
And she would have just sent us a postcard being like, ended up in France somehow. Hee-haw. Yeah. You know, these are not people that were like regularly gallivanting off to Europe, and that would be like no big deal. Oh, we never know where they are. They're these jet setters. No. They're yeah, super weird. Okay. At this point, Dee Dee also filed a missing persons report. It turned out that Dee Dee's secret source, surprise, surprise, everyone, was none other than guest house resident Christopher Chichester.
Oh, really?
Who had abruptly moved out without leaving a forwarding address. So he's no longer feeding Dee Dee this information that actually they're fine and they're on the secret mission. And she goes, okay, now that I think about it, this is all really weird. She had also noticed that John's pickup truck was missing, but she didn't know exactly how long it had been gone. Again, the police don't really look into this at all. They have 2 missing persons reports at this point. For 2 people, both of their families are going, whatever happened to them? Nothing.
Yeah, didn't they were like, oh, there was no sign of foul play. And it's like, so, okay, but where are they?
People get to just completely vanish? And their family like, what? Okay, shortly after this, Dee Dee sold the house and moved before dying in February of 88 without ever knowing the fate of her son. Very sad. 9 months later, John's pickup truck was found 3,000 miles away in Greenwich, Connecticut. A man who went by the name Christopher Crow had tried to sell the truck to the son of a local minister who had passed on buying it because it did not have its proper paperwork. When the police in Greenwich looked into this, they quickly realized that this was actually Christopher Chichester. Christopher Crow, surprise, surprise, not a real name.
Wow, who'd have thought?
And before you go, oh, these Greenwich police seem a little more on the ball, he ran off before they could ask about John and Linda. The case did not resume until the skeleton was discovered in 1994.
Whoa.
So they disappeared in 1985, and nothing is really done about it for 9 years.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, a forensic anthropologist concluded that the bones were consistent with the description of John Sohouse. However, lacking dental records prevented a conclusive identification. The cause of death could not be determined by the skeleton. A cop. Oh, yeah. Here we go. A cop tells us that if you find a skeleton cut up, put in different bags, and buried, it is probably murder. So thank you for that insight. Luminol was sprayed on the floor of the guest house, and it immediately showed signs for a large amount of blood. We now get another mustache. This is Detective Robert's mustache, which I called New Walrus King. It was a big one. Big, very walrusy mustache. Okay. Curiously, okay, so that's really like all we get is the main segment. It takes them 9 years to figure out, oh yeah, these people were probably murdered. But and Christopher Chichester's probably the guy that did it, but we've done nothing about it. The last little twist of the segment is that a woman did eventually show up and ask for Linda's cats. Since they needed homes, the kennel owner gave them over. Who that woman was is completely unknown.
This is wild to me. And it wasn't like her sister, like
I think this woman was so happy to get a home for these cats that she did not ask many questions. And then later people were like, so who was that? And she was like, the thing is I have no idea. I was just really happy to get those 6 cats out of here.
Because that's so wild to me.
Yeah.
Because what it makes me think is that Linda and Chichester had a thing going on, killed her husband, and then ran off together.
Oh, okay. I was not thinking that. So
but honestly, that's like the movie version of the story, because it seems like Linda loved her family and would never just her family says she would never just disappear forever and never call and check in. I mean, granted, that could have been what happened, and then Chichester killed her. You know, so like maybe she did end up murdered just somewhere else where, you know, they haven't found her body, but it's just weird. Like, because who went and got those cats?
Yeah.
Presumably they had to pay a shit ton of money to get those cats. They've been boarded there for like, I don't know how long.
I think maybe she was just like, get them out of here. I don't even care anymore.
Well, maybe.
Okay, so that's where this segment originally ended. Then we get this update. It took 20 years for the cops to match the fingerprints of Christopher Chichester, to look at his fingerprints and realize that his name was actually Christian Gerhardt.
They never ran the fingerprints?
No!
Oh my god. They didn't. I don't know why it would surprise me that they didn't do even the bare minimum, but seriously.
20 years! They found a giant pool of blood had been on the floor of where he was living, and they went, yeah, it's probably this guy. And then they just went home. Okay, so he was, I honestly am not really sure how to say his real last name. And he was convicted of the murder of John Sohaus and sentenced to 27 years to life.
Okay. And he never talked about what happened to Linda.
No trace of Linda has ever been found. So let's see what the Unsolved Mystery Wiki has to say. This is kind of long. Unresolved. In 2008, Christian Carl Gerhardt, who is Chichester, was finally located and arrested. At the time, he was using the alias Clark Rockefeller.
What is with this guy and picking the most fakest sounding names ever?
Okay, criminals, I'm going to give you a little unsolicited advice. And that's when you need a fake name. I think you should go to the library and find an old yearbook and pick out an actual name so that you're not going around introducing yourself as Clark Rockefeller, because nobody is going to believe you.
Hi, I'm Jerry fake name.
Yeah, it's me, Mark Superman. No. Okay. He was arrested after he abducted his 7-year-old daughter during a custody visit.
Cool guy.
Yeah. Over the years, he had conned friends and even his ex-wife into believing he was part of the wealthy Rockefeller family. Wow, okay. Fingerprints confirmed his true identity. Investigators reopened the Sohaus case after his parental kidnapping trial concluded. He was sentenced to 4 to 5 years in state prison for the kidnapping charge and additional time for an assault charge. He refused to cooperate with the police in their investigation of the Sohaus case. In March 2011, he was charged with John's murder. Investigators finally located John's birth family, which I guess was a complication. DNA testing from his family members confirmed that the remains in the backyard of the house belonged to him. At the time of the trial, along with luminol evidence, prosecutors had several witnesses testify against Chichester. Multiple neighbors remembered seeing strange colored smoke coming from his chimney around the time of the murders.
What does that mean?
He had also asked friends about places he could dispose of drums filled with chemicals.
Oh, I wonder if that's what happened to Linda.
Oh, and this says John's remains were found in a metal drum, which is not what it said in the segment, but maybe that's true.
Okay.
Around the time of the murder, he borrowed a chainsaw from a neighbor and tried to sell a blood-stained rug to a friend.
Why would you sell it? Doesn't make any what?
Also, you think that when these people went missing, the police might have found this like very glaring information.
Did they talk to literally no neighbors?
I don't think they did. I don't think they looked into it at all. I think there weren't any signs
knock
of
on
foul
some
play.
Fucking doors. Isn't that your job?
You would think. Okay.
Their neighbors would be like, "Oh yeah, you tried to sell me a bloodstained rug." What?
The guy I lent a chainsaw to? Okay. Yes.
Oh
or
my God.
They could have looked in the guest house and found the luminol. Then they could have run his fingerprints. They could have done so many things. They did not bother to.
There was a fresh grave in the backyard. Did they look in the backyard?
No, clearly not. Because
oh my God,
it would have been. Okay. Oh, right. Because now the next sentence is, also around the same time, a friend noticed that the ground near the guest house had been dug up. He claimed he was having plumbing problems. However, the same area was where John's body was later found.
They could have talked to literally anyone.
Yeah. Clearly, like, the whole neighborhood knew something was up. They're seeing weird smoke coming out of his house. He's running around with a borrowed chainsaw and then going, "Hey, do you want to buy this rug? It's only got a little blood on it. $25." What? Oh, okay. Finally, 2 bags found with John's remains came from 2 universities that Chichester had attended. This guy could not have been leaving more evidence, really. He should have just signed. He should have put a note on the body. By the way, it was me. On April 10th, 2013. This happened in 85, everybody.
Oh my God.
2013, he was convicted by a Los Angeles jury of first-degree murder for John. He was sentenced to 27 years to life. Sadly, Linda has never been found. However, the police do believe that she was dead and killed around the same time.
Okay.
I'm wondering if he got a girlfriend or a family member or something to pick up those cats.
I think but right. He killed them both.
Why
though?
There is no explanation of murder. I mean, it doesn't sound like.
Okay, the only thing I was thinking
a ton of sense.
I watched that Worst Neighbors Ever show on Netflix. And there is a woman that was taking in sort of destitute renters, and she would steal their social security checks because you just have to I don't know if this is still true, but you just have to sign someone as I don't even know if you live there, if you would even have to do that. You could just probably steal it from the mailbox, especially if this woman is old and not with it and drunk all the time. Yeah. I wonder if he killed them and collected those checks for a while until the police were snooping around too much and then he bailed or something.
Yeah, but you think he would have killed Dee Dee. She's the one that would have been getting checks.
Maybe you still need her. Maybe you need her alive in order to get them somehow. I have no idea.
I know I've heard cases of say a family member dies that was getting social security checks and your family really depended on that money, that people would just not report that death and keep getting that. I'm sure that would not work today, but they would just be well, I guess we're putting grandma in the attic because we need those checks to keep rolling in.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know why he would kill them unless I guess I don't know, but
I think I'm leading towards he's not well, but
sicko.
Yeah, this is kind of erratic, strange behavior. But yeah, God. And then where is Linda's body?
I don't know.
Because it's strange it's not in the same place and literally no one knows where it is except him, I guess. That's weird. Wild. It's very weird. Yeah. So I kind of wonder if he somehow tricked John and Linda into thinking they got this new job. Right there.
Yeah. Because why did Linda say that?
Right. But they were having some money troubles, right? And they wanted to be able to no longer live with Dee Dee. And I'm guessing Dee Dee needed some level of care, and that's why she was living there, right? So they get this like sudden, like too good to be true job offer that I think would have like, kind of turned things around.
Maybe he needed Linda to tell her family that she got this job, that she couldn't
Yeah.
tell them any details, and so that it would like get them off his trail.
Well, then it gave them this huge lump of time before anyone even came looking for them, right? Like no one even considers anything suspicious happened for 8 weeks.
God.
So yeah, I'm wondering if he like impersonated someone on the phone or like sent them a letter or something to like make them think there was going to be this great job. They tell everybody, "Oh, we're going to be leaving town, like don't worry about us." And they're actually dead.
Wild.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird. Sad and odd. Okay. Moving on to mystery number 2.
So this is the mystery of the Phantom submarine. And if you're a dude of a certain age, you might like this mystery.
As soon as it started, I really was like, "Oh, poor Samantha. I'm glad I'm glad I don't have this one."
I am going to admit something right now, which is that I didn't really take notes on this. And the Unsolved Mysteries wiki is very short. So I've got some other sources. I'm going to do my best to piece together this story from wiki adjacent websites.
In your defense, this was nothing of a segment. It's very short and there is not a lot.
I don't understand how
of
this is even a mystery, because you just have to look under the water off the coast of California. Is there a submarine there or isn't there? If there's no submarine there, then this didn't happen. If there's a submarine there, then it did. It's like very easy to confirm, and yet for some reason we're acting like this is a mystery.
I did not understand that about the segment, particularly when it ended. I was like, okay, so is it there or not? Like, don't we have fucking satellites? Just
There's
like
Rob Lowe out there. I don't know.
Yeah, get him on that ship that like helped James
Film
Cameron or whatever it was. Get him out there to find out if there's really I was like, just go fucking look. Like, I'm sorry, Unsolved Mysteries. Do I have to do everything? Do I have to learn how to scuba dive?
They're not looking for something small. They're looking for a sunken submarine at the bottom of the ocean. Where's it gonna go? You just have to go look for it.
Unsolved Mysteries, I cannot personally solve all of these mysteries. You need to do like a tiny bit of work yourself, okay? Like, I cannot be responsible for going into the ocean and finding out if there's a submarine here. I'm not a great swimmer. I'm not the person to do this.
Okay, so we're talking about the whether or not there's a mystery. This is a World War II mystery, our favorite kind of mystery. So during World War II, between 1944 and 1945, the USS Willard Keith was one of several United States Navy destroyers patrolling the Pacific coast. One spring morning, it was March 1945, the Willard Keith was on its way down the coast of Catalina Island on a routine run. Most of these trips were fairly mundane and boring. There was really no known Japanese submarines operating in the Eastern Pacific this late in the war. So the crew expected to find nothing, and they usually didn't find anything on these patrols. The patrols were really more of a formality, and they were also used as training. So we meet Bill Anderson, a crew member on board that day. He was 18 years old at the time. And he says that they picked up on sonars, they picked up propeller noise, and gave the coordinates to the captain. So basically what they thought they were picking up was an enemy submarine. They weren't sure, obviously, who it was or why. There was no known like US submarine in these waters, so the assumption would be that it was an enemy submarine. And he says that their captain had been sunk twice, and so he wanted to shoot first and ask questions later, which seems like the opposite of what you should do, but whatever. I've never been on a Navy destroyer. I don't know. So they tossed several depth charges into the water. And was it Bill that was the one that did that? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. Don't ask me.
Yeah. Okay. So first, sorry, I need to back up. Bill was skeptical that it was an enemy sub, and he questioned a junior officer about it. However, the officer dismissed his suspicions. Years later, the thought that they hit an American submarine still haunts the crewmen of the USS Willard Keith. So they threw the depth charges into the water. There was indeed a big explosion, and then they saw an oil slick. So that told them that they hit something down there. But of course, they had not confirmed whether or not it was an enemy or friendly submarine. And so they had no idea who it was that they sunk underneath the ocean. I'm pretty sure when they came on shore, they were pulled aside and said to never speak of this again.
Sounds above board.
Yes. So recently Anderson requested the deck log and the war diary for the ship because he started to question the actions that they took that day. When he received these items, he was surprised to find that there was no record for sinking of a submarine. In fact, there were no records at all of a submarine being hit off the California coast, which doesn't make sense because they saw an oil slick after they tossed the depth charges into the water. Decades later, the crew of the USS Willard Keith believed that the submarine they sank was a U.S. submarine, and that the military told them the military covered it up, and that's why when they came on shore, they were told not to speak of this ever again. Several divers between Santa Barbara and San Francisco have claimed to have seen a sunken submarine, possibly a U-boat in the water off the California coast. Apparently a salvage expedition is investigating off the coast of San Francisco in order to identify the identity of the mystery sub, but don't really hear anything about it. I believe Bill Anderson in 1992, Bill Anderson and a partner bought a boat and began searching for the submarine themselves. However, they never found any trace of it, and to this day, according to Unsolved Mysteries Wiki, it remains unsolved.
And the name of their boat was the Echo Hunter, which I thought was kind of cool.
That is kind of a cool name for a boat.
So we still don't know if there's a submarine there or not? How's that possible?
No, apparently they thought that it could be. So they originally thought that the identity of the Japanese sub was the submarine called the I-12, which was a massive submarine, 300 feet long, and had during the last years of the war been involved in missions to conduct independent operations in the Central and Eastern Pacific between Hawaii and California. Apparently it had some run-ins with some various different boats. I'm trying to see if there's any more information in here. So they thought it was, even though like enemy subs had not really been located in this area, not that far away, there was this I-12 submarine. And so they thought, and that's I think why they fired on it, that this sub that they picked up on sonar could have been it. I honestly think, again, can't we confirm or deny that it's down there?
Yeah, this is still so murky.
Well, and like poor Bill Anderson in the episode, he describes this feeling of like, 50 guys or whatever are dying below me, and we didn't even like confirm who they were. Like,
right.
So he's haunted by this, and I'm pretty sure like the other crew on the ship was haunted by this. But again, I think it should be like easy to confirm or deny whether or not it's there.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
weird.
Someone can tell me why I'm wrong, but
look, I'm just assuming the government doesn't want us to know something.
The USS Willard Keith does have this like super old website that I found. Which is like, I think the crew they must get together and have reunions.
Well, that's kind of adorable. Well, that didn't clarify anything. Now now I have another wild one. This is an
they have a reunion coming up in September of 2022.
Should we just go?
To attend their reunion, you must be a member in good standing of the USS Willard Keith Reunion Association. The attached sign-up form with your check for this year's subscription of $25. We'll need to pay $25.
Okay, but I don't know that they'll let us join.
Can we go to their reunion? Where is this?
They're just gonna be like, why the hell are you here?
It's in October.
Okay, well,
all
something to consider. I like that you have to send a check. Okay. Oh, I did have 2 mustache names from this. There's a lot of mustaches in this episode. So Chet's mustache, I called the aging caterpillar.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm still looking at this website. They're apparently going to have a silent auction, and they request that no one bring a white elephant, please.
Okay, well, fair, I guess.
Clearly, people have not followed directions in the past and have brought gag gifts for the silent auction. So get your shit together.
What do you think's at the silent auction? Do you think we want any of it?
Yeah.
Is there anything cool?
I don't know. I really want to know, though.
I do too. Maybe we should write in and say, like, can we bid on any of these items? Has anybody made like a quilt or something?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
What are we talking about here? They're already homemade jams. So funny.
It's gonna be on a ferry. Obviously, it's gonna be on a boat. That makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, we know what we're doing.
I'm more interested in this reunion than I was the actual mystery. I apologize.
It does sound more interesting. Okay, so we have the aging caterpillar for one mustache, and then someone named Bill had a mustache. Oh yeah, Bill Anderson. He had a mustache, and his mustache is named Lip Exposure for All.
Okay. Lip exposure for all.
If you haven't listened to this podcast before, we do name the mustaches that come out, but I'm more like a conduit. I'm just pulling the names from the ether. I can't help with their names. So
it's just what that name is.
Yeah, it's Lip Exposure for All. I don't know. Can't explain it. Okay, so now let's talk about this very weird unexplained death. And this is from Cook County, Illinois. Okay, so this is the case of Police Captain Michael O'Mara, who worked for the Cook County Sheriff's Department. So Chicago is within Cook County, but the county is bigger, obviously. So he was working for the county, opposed to the Chicago PD. Robert Stack refers to him as the straightest of straight arrows, which
okay.
All right. Okay. He had a family, and he was the only local cop that had been trained at the FBI Academy. In the 60s, he was known for taking on the mob, so he made a name for himself and had a prestigious career for that. But by 1988, when this story takes place, he was working a desk job in the records department. He was kind of, getting ready for retirement. On May 30th, 1988, after 9 p.m., a patrolman pulled into the police service area to gas up his vehicle when he found an unmarked police car at the pumps, but no officer in sight. So they show this in the reenactment, and it does look really weird. Like, someone has pulled up to their car, they've got in the gas nozzle, they've put it in the car, and then they just, pieced out.
Yeah.
So he pulls up to gas up his car, and he was like, where is the person this car belongs to? Why did they just leave it here, in the middle of gassing up? So that guy takes a look around and eventually finds Michael O'Mara's body slumped over a rock in the middle of a lawn. So it's just part of the grounds of the service area, but it's not even within sight of the gas pumps. They just had this large, if the reenactment is close, it's just a large cut grass area that has this one boulder, and then his body is just slumped over it. Anyway,
that's weird.
Yeah, he had been shot once in the head. Neither his wallet nor briefcase had been taken. His gun was found on the right side of the body near his right hand, as well as his flashlight. So the question was, and I was surprised that this was the question, was this murder, or did he take his own life? Because you're looking at this reenactment of a fake dead guy slumped over a rock, and you go, that's murder. He's a cop. I'm sure he has lots of enemies. People who kill themselves don't usually start gassing up a car and then wander away.
Just decide now is the time.
And then take their own life in this super uncomfortable. I don't
No.
What?
Yes.
What? And so I was very surprised that that's why it was unexplained. I thought it was going to be unexplained, who did it? Is this police corruption? A thick question that would make sense. But the question instead was, did this man take his own life? And then you're obviously no. Just
look, unless we have a head in a bag, it's not for sure murder. And even then, we can only speculate that it's probably murder.
So at this point in the segment, I was real confused. We learned that 2 weeks later, after an autopsy, the coroner officially ruled the death as suicide. His friends and family, who were not stupid, were convinced it was murder. The last person to see him alive was his wife, Barbara, who says he left the house that night in good spirits. Honestly, if this little story doesn't convince you that he didn't kill himself, I don't know what would, because he said, like, oh, hey, it was, the evening. He had to go fill up his car, but he said he would get frozen yogurt on the way back home and asked everybody at the house what flavor they wanted. I know that suicidal thoughts can be very sudden and very powerful. And I don't think that we really understand that well, but I still don't think that before killing yourself, you would take like a large frozen yogurt order and then just like not like he borrows cash from his wife to pay for like
Oh, he was gonna get the yogurt, and they made a big deal about how much he loved yogurt,
which is just kind of adorable.
So he wasn't gonna go out without eating his yogurt first.
I'm just picturing this guy leaving the house going, frozen yogurt, frozen yogurt, frozen yogurt. Like he's like talking everyone into it. He's like, oh, I'll pick it up for you. And they're like, Michael, we know you just want frozen yogurt. It's okay. Frozen yogurt, frozen yogurt.
I understand. Honestly, I understand.
Yeah. So guess what? His wife was like, yeah, no, he did not kill himself.
This makes no sense.
So his wife hired a specialist, Dr. DeMaio, to review the case, and he immediately agreed that it was suspicious. Because why would he ask for money before leaving the house? And why would he leave his car with a gas nozzle still?
Why would it be slumped over a rock?
Why would he pick right there? So weird. Okay. So Dr. DeMaio...
Was he shot with his own gun? Wait, what was his cause of death?
Yes, he is shot with his own gun.
Okay.
But I think this is somewhere in my notes. It's not pressed to his head. It's like 2 to 4 inches away.
Also, not something you
like if you, and I think it's in his forehead. Like if you think of someone in, I don't know, like a movie raising their gun to their temple because they're gonna kill themselves or threatening to kill themselves, that nozzle is right to the temple, right? And then you
don't hold it a foot away
because you could miss.
Yes, yes. No, you.
Or if you actually want to die, you don't want to like take off part of your ear or like graze the top of your head or something. You want it to go into your brain, which might not even necessarily kill you, but you wouldn't hold it out.
No,
2 to 4 inches away.
No,
and then just like. And then aim it at your forehead so you're kind of looking down the barrel. No, what? Okay. So, what Dr. DeMaio believes happens is that Michael was filling up his car when he heard something odd. So he grabbed his gun and briefcase and went to investigate. He found people or multiple people in this field who ended up taking his gun and shooting him. However, the police department that investigated this, which... I feel really okay. If I take this on face value, that this guy was a good cop, I don't know.
Was he about to expose some corruption or something?
That is my theory. And because when this is investigated, they are so determined that this is suicide, despite the fact that he's put in like this long, good career with the sheriff's department. And you think they would be more concerned about one of their own dying?
In a pretty suspicious manner, yes.
Yeah. So I just feel really bad for his family that probably respected the police department and, thought that he had like this good career and had done all this good. And then when he dies, they're like, yeah, I don't know. He probably killed himself. Like they don't do anything. They don't help after all those years of service. It's really frustrating for them, I'm sure. Like, because, okay, now we hear from somebody at the police department that wants you to know that while people heard the shot, no one heard cries for help or anything unusual. And there's no evidence that anyone else was there. There were no signs of a struggle. And I'm like, actually leaving your car with the gas nozzle still in it, to me, seems like a sign of a struggle.
Yeah.
Do you
Being
have to...
dead on a rock is a sign of a struggle.
Do you have to, like, literally knock over a chair before it's a sign of a... Like... It's weird. It's so suspicious. And they're like, look, someone would have heard something. I don't know. It's just not usually the way cops talk when a cop has died. And I find that very weird.
That alone is suspicious.
Yes. And one of the cops telling us this has a cop mustache, and his is named the Rat Bastard.
Appropriate.
I don't trust him at all. And Robert Stack wants to know, but who had motive to kill this man? And I was like, probably a lot of people that he arrested.
Yep.
But I actually am leaning towards you. I think that if, let's say that this guy really is like a by the books, straightest of the straight arrows guy, he's now working in the records department. I think he just found something. And
Yeah.
if he was actually like honorable, I bet he was going to get people in trouble. And guess what? Most cops not honorable at all. So
It's not a stretch, okay?
So I'm kind of wondering if they are more than happy to band together because they're all corrupt and cover up this murder rather than, I don't know, admit they stole drugs from the property room or who knows, right? Like it could be something just simple like that. Like they pocketed money or they were on the take or whatever. If he actually was honest, that could have been a problem for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is when they talk about how the gun is like not even pointed to his head. And then this I also found really suspicious is that they were like, well, so the gun wasn't pointed directly at his head like a suicide would be. However, he taught classes about homicide scenes and he would have known that. So he could have faked it. Why, bitch? Why?
What?
Why would he want to kill himself but also not want people to know?
The reason that it looks like a homicide is because, it was actually a suicide, but he wanted it to look like a homicide.
Why? Now
Reasons.
we get another cop mustache that I called the deep unsettlement. Because I was like very pale. I didn't like it at all.
I don't remember any of these mustaches.
Wow. We hear from a bunch of people in this guy's community about like how he was a good guy, and even his priest thinks that it's a police cover-up. So that's something to think about. I also kind of, God, I should have taken better notes about who we're hearing from. If it's in the sheriff's department, I assume it's its own department investigating this. And I don't know anything about the Cook County Sheriff's Department, but I mean, the Chicago PD is like one of the most evil organizations that's ever existed. They literally had a black site for torturing people. I looked that up. That apparently didn't start until the 90s. So it's not related to that. I was like, well, maybe he knew they were torturing people, but that hadn't happened at least there yet. I'm sure they were already doing all sorts of stuff, but it is interesting to hear an actual priest go, yeah, this was the cops. You're like, oh, all right.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a corruption thing. The whole town seems to think it was a corruption thing, but there is no justice for Michael O'Mara.
All right. Well, dang.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we got a lost love next. So I did have the submarine mystery, but I got a lost love. So
it all works out.
All is forgiven. So this is a lost siblings case. In 1948, a family tragedy began to unfold just north of Tipton, Oklahoma. So Roy Lee and Leela Stallings had 6 children. 12-year-old Roy Jr., 10-year-old Mary Esther, 9-year-old Michael Joseph, who is called Joe, 6-year-old Ernest Lee, who they call Ernie, so cute, 4-year-old David Ray, and 2-year-old Norma Ruth. They existed on what Robert Stack calls the edge of abject poverty. I'm going to say they were like in the middle of it because they were living in a school bus in the woods.
What is abject poverty if not that?
I don't know. 6 children they're barely getting by. You're living in literally a school bus in the woods.
The husband is like going off to hunt for food and the kids are like scavenging.
Yeah, so Roy Lee works sporadically, but basically so he was like a sharecropper, I guess, but any money he made he just gambled away. So basically they had no money whatsoever.
What a hard life.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Can Robert Stack even fathom?
No, 6 children in a school bus. They were referring to the 10-year-old as like a second mother, which is depressing as hell because the 10-year-old had to help take care of all the younger ones.
Right.
Oh my God. I'm so tired just even thinking about it.
Seriously. So Joe recalls that Roy, his father, was, quote, fatherly in his own way. He did try to make a living for the family, but he wasn't really ever home with them. And yeah, he had a gambling problem. So Layla, sorry, he describes as a disciplinarian, but she was always there and she worked hard and she kept them together as a family and she provided for them despite their dire
Oof.
circumstances. She cooked the
Oof.
food. She kept a clean living area for them.
She did the best she could in like really shitty circumstances.
Right.
It just shows that people have like so much more will to live than I do. And I don't mean that as like a cry for help. It's just that I cannot imagine doing this every day.
6 kids.
It's like, well, I better clean our rusted out school bus. So
Well, and you have to figure out how to feed them. You have no money. It's just like, oh. And
Yeah.
despite of these insurmountable odds, Layla maintained a home life that was as normal as possible. Mary recalls that they always had something to do. They had toys and each other to play with. They didn't think of themselves as being any different. Leela, Layla could neither read nor write, but she had her Bible and it meant a lot to her. And she would tell the kids Bible stories every night. She also would use pictures in the Bible to sit down and have family time and tell stories. And it was just really sweet. And they were all together. The children describe growing up with a very direct sense of what was right and what was wrong, and they were all very close with each other because basically that's all they had. They had each other.
right.
Joe was a big brother and role model to Ernest. Mary was a second mother to her siblings. To the children, the old school bus was home, and it was a haven and a safe place. But to others, notably this asshole Melvin Purdy.
Yeah, what is Melvin's problem?
I don't know. They describe him as a family friend, but this isn't very friendly behavior.
Family enemy, more like.
Yeah, so Robert Stack said that he had different ideas. He did not hesitate to make his feelings about their situation known to Layla. He felt that the school bus was not a good place for children to live, and he believed that they should be split up. He like demanded to take only one of the children. I forget which one. I think David. He wanted to raise David for some reason, the youngest boy, but all the other children, he's
very creepy.
He did not care where they went. It's extremely creepy.
Yeah, before you're like, well, an old abandoned school bus is not a great place to raise children. I agree with Melvin, except that Melvin just wanted to take the youngest boy for himself for some reason and didn't really care what happened to the other children.
Yeah, it's
very creepy.
Troubling. Not good. Not good. And so Melvin would just show up and like scream at Layla.
Like just demanding, like, give me David.
Yeah, like what?
What? She's like, that's my son. Like, no way in hell.
Owed a kid. Like, what?
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So
creep.
So weird.
So
he's just trying to take advantage of her poverty because obviously she's worried about the authorities coming and taking the children away. So he feels like he can hold that over her and then
absolutely
literally steal one of her kids.
Yeah.
Melvin, I hope you're rotting in hell.
Creepy. So, unfortunately, a few weeks later, there was a big confrontation. Melvin and Layla screaming at each other. She told him to leave. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, the school bus was taken away because apparently Roy Lee lost it in a poker game.
Roy.
So Melvin,
not
along
okay,
with
not okay, Roy. Not okay.
Yeah.
You needed that school bus.
Yeah, so it's the sad, maybe one of the saddest reenactments, which is just like where the school bus used to be was just a pile of their things.
Yeah.
So that's sad. And then Melvin
immediately,
and apparently other people in the area contacted the authorities. Roy Lee, so this is horrible. Roy Lee and Layla were handcuffed and brought to court and charged with, quote, omitting to provide for the care of minor children. And they were like sent to fucking jail.
Yeah, what's so frustrating about all of these stories, and I feel like it's something that could still potentially happen, is the state will be like, you don't have money to care for these children. We're taking them away. We're also giving someone else money to care for them. And you're like, I'm sorry. If the problem is that there's not money to take care of the children, you could give the money to the parents.
Yeah,
And they could stay with their family. But
yeah, they
no.
can be together instead of split up, which is
Like,
obviously what happened to these children. So in court, Roy Lee and Layla pleaded not guilty. The judge ordered them to be held in jail pending trial, and the children were placed in the care of the Child Welfare Department. Also, the children were in court that day, so they got to see their mom and dad handcuffed, marched in front of a judge, and then taken off to jail. And then they were all sent to separate foster homes. So it's great.
wow. Love it. What a great solution to this problem.
Yeah. Mary remembers seeing Roy Lee and Leela placed in handcuffs and taken out a side door. Mary says that it was very strange to see her parents taken away like that.
Of course, like so traumatic and terrible.
Yeah, because so they weren't in good circumstances, whatever, but they were all together and they were all happy and they had each other and they were all very close. And now these poor kids have no idea their parents are being taken away.
And they don't even get to stay with their siblings.
No. So
essentially, like I don't think they were going to school. These are like the only people they know.
Yeah.
So
over the next few days, the children were all taken to foster homes. Mary vividly remembers the last time she saw her 3 youngest siblings because she had to like help carry them to the car, and they were one by one put into the social worker's car. She was told to go inside and they drove off, and she never saw them again.
It would be really nice if we could like provide housing for people. I know it's like a super weird idea, but
so sad. So she and what's worse is that because she was helping carry them to the car, she was holding Ernest, and her last memory of her youngest siblings was she told Ernest to get into the car, and then they took them all away. So it's
how
so
painful.
traumatizing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I missed part of it. So she told Ernest to get into the car, then she helped put David in the car, and then Norma, who was the youngest, wouldn't let her go. And the social worker had to pull her from Mary's arms and put her in the car.
Why?
She remembers Ernie pulling at the windows in an attempt to get them open. She waved goodbye as they were driven off.
That's fucking heartbreaking.
It's honestly horrible. And how old was Mary at the time? She was 9.
No.
So great.
No.
So within a week, the charges against Roy Lee and Layla were dropped, but the damage had already been done. Layla was told that all of her children, except the oldest, Roy Jr., had been put up for adoption. 2 years later, after Roy Lee and Layla got divorced, Mary was allowed to go home and live with her mother, and Joe, who was adopted by the Dillahunty family, was reunited with Layla and Mary in 1959. Sadly, Layla passed away in 1989. Mary and Joe still desperately want to be reunited with their brothers and sister. Mary says that they have never given up hope that their siblings are still alive and that they will be able to find them. So basically, the oldest 3 were reunited, but the youngest 3 are still missing. They don't know whatever happened to them.
Yeah, we see that a lot in these cases because the youngest siblings obviously have the least formed memories, and it's going to be harder. Like, they can't really reach out as much to find their older siblings, so they might not really remember anything from that time.
Right.
God, it's so sad.
Yeah. So fortunately, this is solved and there's a reunion. So the day after the broadcast, 35 years of frustration began to come to an end for Joe and Mary. A man named Lee Schweilen of Owasso, Oklahoma, called the telecenter. He identified himself as Ernest, who was only 6 when the family was split apart. He remembered his siblings and the fact that they lived in a school bus by the river. He was thrilled to hear that Joe and Mary were looking for him and was anxious to meet them. 3 weeks later, he arrived at a hotel in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he was reunited with Joe. The brothers had not seen each other in nearly half a century. They have kind of an awkward hug on camera, but it's still very sweet.
Pretty awkward. I get it. And it's the camera being there does not help. But you know, I've seen warmer hugs.
I definitely have. But they were still, I mean, it was still sweet and they were very happy to see each other. So Joe says that it was a wonderful feeling to find him. Lee says, this is Ernest, that he was not sure how he was going to react since he had not seen Joe for so many years. But he said he felt a lot better than he thought he would. He says that it felt very good to meet. That day, the two made plans to get together again to go fishing. Joe says that they have a future ahead of them to be together and to enjoy each other's company. Sadly, Mary was unable to attend the reunion. However, she was able to speak to Lee on the phone, and they have since reunited. For Joe, being reunited with Lee/Ernest added one more piece to the family puzzle. But we're told that 3 more siblings, David, Norma, and Roy Jr., are still missing. Joe, Mary, and Ernest eventually located David, who is now called David Perkins. They also located Norma, who now goes by D. Alexander. They had been adopted by the same family. And they also learned that Roy Jr. unfortunately passed away several years earlier. Oh, sadly, Joe passed away in 2021 in August.
Oh, well,
at the age of 81.
They were reunited first. God, I hate it.
Yeah.
That's a really sad one.
It's so sad.
That's almost Orphan Train level.
Kind of. I really liked Joe's shirt in the reunion. It's like a Western shirt with wolves on it. It's great. You can see a picture on the Unsolved Mysteries wiki. It was definitely, he wore his best shirt to be on TV.
I mean, as you should. You should definitely. If you get a chance to be on Unsolved Mysteries, please wear that shirt or a similar shirt. Or like a t-shirt of a howling wolf you got at a gas station would also be a good pick. Oh, that's such a sad note to end on, but now it's time to rate this episode.
Okay, well, this is a mixed bag because I hated the submarine one.
But
but honestly, all the other mysteries were pretty good.
Yeah, we do get an unnecessary update. That's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
Baby Girl X.
But fortunately, that submarine thing is like you blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
So, God, 3.5? What do you think?
I think that's fair. It can't be a 4 with that submarine mystery in there, but 3.5 is fair.
Yeah, maybe if it didn't have the unnecessary update, I would have bumped it up. But there are some good mysteries here, particularly that first one. Wild. I can't believe I'd never heard about that before.
Yeah.
Very weird case.
We get a Lost Love. So
yeah. I think 3.5 is pretty good. I've realized that we've stopped like declaring an MVM ever. I just name the mustaches and then we like move on with our lives.
We also skipped to the rating and didn't do our thumbs up and thumbs down, which is, it's fine. We could.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We don't have to do that.
No, let's do it. Sorry. I don't know how my own show works.
Mysteriousness was our first category.
Okay, honestly, pretty mysterious. Somehow we don't even know if that fucking submarine is still there. So there's a mystery, I guess.
Yeah.
Where is Linda's body? And why did no one bother to investigate Christopher Chichester for 20 years? Just a real remarkable case of police laziness. No, it's a lot of weird stuff going on in this episode. So thumbs up for mysteriousness.
Reenactments?
I mean, decent. Oh, that one of the bus is so sad.
So sad.
So sad. I don't know. What do you think? Sideways?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Other than the Lost Love reenactments go from very sweet to you want to die. So I don't know how to rate that. And then the rest of the episode, they're just kind of standard.
Yeah, and I don't know about fashion. I feel like, Joe has that sweet,
but there's nothing else. There's nothing else.
That's really carrying the episode.
Sideways again.
Oh, you were gonna do Sideways? Is generous.
That's how good that shirt is.
Okay, you're right.
And there are a lot of mustaches also, which I feel like could bump it up to Sideways. Even though a lot of them I did not like. There's a lot of cop mustaches and a lot of unsettling mustaches in this. But I suppose that's always the case. So I think Sideways, for fashion.
Yeah. Did you have an MVM?
No, honestly, I wrote down these names. I barely remember what those mustaches look like.
Fair.
I guess we'll go with the King Walrus one. What was
Okay.
that one?
All right.
New Walrus King.
Was there that implies the existence of the old Walrus King?
Well, I know we had some sort of walrus stash years ago.
I don't think it was Walrus King, but that's fine.
But there's a new Walrus King on the streets. Okay, yes. That's gonna be the MVM, I say, and we're gonna give it a 3.5. So if anybody's still keeping those stats, that's where this episode is. 3.5. Those were the thumbs were, and the MVM is the new Walrus King.
Do I have to think of a recommendation now?
Honestly, I do not have. I've been sitting here this whole episode, barely listening to you, just looking like a child, just looking around this room. Like, is there anything I can recommend? What about? I'm just like looking at books. Like, was that good? I pulled up my good. I've got jack shit. So my recommendation is basics. Are you getting enough water?
Okay. Are you getting enough hot fudge?
Are you getting your doctor allotted amount of hot fudge for the day? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you taking naps? Are you wearing sunscreen? Like, I feel like it's a very hard time, and you just got to make sure you're actually like not self-care as in like, I'm gonna put on a seat mask and watch TV. Like, are you actually taking care of yourself? Are you actually making sure you like eat a meal instead of just like shove a granola bar in your face, which is the sort of thing I do. Don't do that. Actually, like, get 8 hours of sleep a night. Eat a vegetable.
My recommendation is I second your recommendation. Eat a vegetable.
Yeah, eat just like one. Just like start somewhere. Buy a fucking pre-made salad at the store. It's fine. God, I feel like it's just been such a chaotic and tiring time.
Yes.
That, are you taking your medicine? Are you like those sort of things? Check in with that. Because I feel like even that is like hard at this point. Yeah, what a dull, depressing, but useful recommendation. Hydrate. Get some food. I'm worried about you 5 listeners.
Remember, seltzer is water.
Yeah, it is.
So drink some Polar.
I saw someone trying to like, I don't know what you call it, but like making fun of LaCroix because it's just Michigan tap water. It's not like from a spring. And I was like, I don't care. Is it bad for me?
Not a concern of mine.
I was like, first of all, it's flavored. I'm not just drinking water. Like, okay. Yeah, I guess. I'm drinking.
Would they rather have it be stolen from a community in another country?
I guess because it's not spring water. They're like, it's just Michigan tap water.
That's a scam anyway.
I was like, yeah, I'm not really worried about that, actually. Is it flavor? Will I drink it? I will. Okay, that's fine. Will my body get liquids? Great. Okay. I sort of assume all bottled water is just tap water somewhere, right?
Yes.
It's not coming from Lords.
No.
It's not from a magical healing spring. Like, what? Now you tell me. Anyway. Well, God, what was that? I recently had such a good polar water. Oh, the coconut limeade.
Yeah.
Oh,
you really liked that one. I haven't been able to find it.
If you can find that, folks, try it. There's a recommendation.
I'm not a big fan of lime, but I'll try it. I like coconut.
I found it very refreshing. Like almost unbelievably good. It was like, what? Okay. Wow. I guess we're just gonna. Are we gonna actually remember to plug stuff?
Oh yeah. We probably should.
We have a Patreon.
Yeah, we just recorded finally our coverage of the best show on television. No, not Unsolved Mysteries. Canada's Worst Handyman.
Samantha's literal favorite show. And we had everybody's voice crush Mac on because he also loves that show. Yeah, and it was a good time.
He told me about Canada's Worst Handyman, so obviously we had to invite Mac on to talk about it. So you can get instant access to that episode as well as over 50 other bonus episodes if you could give us just $1.
Come
Best
on.
deal in town.
Do it.
There's also a few more tiers. You give us some more money, get some other stuff. It's cool. You're gonna want it. You're gonna want it. We're on social media.
Yeah, there's all that stuff.
At Perhaps It's You. You could send us a spooky story. We would love it if you would send us a spooky story. At this point, make something up. I don't care. Perhaps It's You podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. If you write like a really good yarn, that's fine too.
We're gonna believe it. We're gonna tell it as if it's true. So
yes. And yeah, we have the social media. We have very lovely people in our Facebook group.
You could also download Repod.
Oh, could and should.
I think you should. You're gonna wanna. If you can join the Repod community, interact with us there.
It's a nice way to listen to podcasts because you can comment on specific moments in the podcast, and you can also post little clips, which I think is cool. It seems to be an underutilized feature on that app. I want people to start making little clips of the obviously brilliant and hilarious stuff that we say.
It's something I've said this before. I wish was a thing in the beginning, because there's so many times people will say will quote us. I don't remember saying any of this.
Yeah,
I'll be like, that's really funny. That came out of me. I don't remember saying that whatsoever. So I wish that Repod had been around from the beginning, but it's never too late. So join that.
Yeah, find the funniest thing we said in this episode, make a little clip of it. I feel like that's everything, right?
I must be. If not, who cares?
Exactly. So keep barking, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.